you're down to the last rand, what are you buying?
Honestly, I would say the same because I mean, it's tough at that point, so I just want to enjoy it.
I mean, based on my size, you know it'd be food too.
Yeah.
You know I'd be up in them junk as well.
Yeah.
From the gents at the end, last rand, what would you buy?
I would also probably say food, if I'm being honest. I love McDonald's. But also, I'll be conflicted if I'd also want to buy some shares of easy equities. Okay. Even if I'm broke, I'll be there.
Okay. And for your brother?
I've said this many times. Easy equities, they can have all my money. So, if I can't have money, at least let me have some shares, some ownership.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, cool stuff. Anybody else want to share? You're down to your last rand. It's just about to hit negative something, but you have to have this thing. Anybody else wants to share what they are in love with? Anybody else keen to share? Let us know.
I love books, so I don't compromise when it comes to books. If I can, like my last,
What are you into? Novels? What are you into?
Finance.
Finance books. Okay, cool. Was there somebody being responsible? You over there? Ooh, yummy, delicious stuff. Oh man, absolutely love that. Over there? Apple Music. Gotta keep the vibes going, yeah? Gotta keep the guys going. At the back? You said? I see. So interesting things that people would spend their last rand on. So today's session is about saving and investing and how to hack it, right? I sometimes feel like investment professionals make it too complicated. They don't speak the language of ordinary South Africans. One of the things they'll say is try and save 15% of your income. If we're being real, in Cyril's economy, 15% is way too much. So the session is about being real. It's about letting these young experts who are doing it on a daily basis share some of their secrets. But throughout the session, feel free to put up your hand to ask a question. We've still got books to give away. So every time somebody asks a really great question, we'll give a book away. But this session is to learn, it's to interact, it's to ask questions, to say, I don't really agree with this. I think maybe we should look at it like that. So there won't be a presentation. We're not going to bore you with graphs. We just want to have a conversation with you guys, yeah? So it's all about saving and investing and getting into that. And I think for the speakers, the one thing that I tend to come across is I think a lot of people confuse saving with investing. So sometimes people will think they're talking about investing, but really they're talking about saving, right? And I think that's a great place to start, to ensure that people understand what is the difference between the two. So I'm going to start with Tshepo and Connor. What is the difference between saving and investing? How do you understand it?
So for me, saving is kind of putting away money towards a certain goal. So for a certain period towards a certain goal. And investing to me is more kind of trying to grow my money. So I'm aiming to grow it for the long term.
Yeah. I mean, how do you tell the difference between the two?
So for me, savings more like short-term goals. A lot of experts say like before less than 5 years. For me, it's 3 years. I think that's reasonable. Like you want to go on holiday at the end of the year, maybe you want to chase like the highest interest you can in the savings account. And then for investing, I think anything more than 3-5 years, for whatever goal you have, because that's more long-term. Better than saving account generally in the long term. So
yeah. So what I'm hearing from you guys, and the way I understand it, because I like to simplify things, right, is you save with the intention to spend, right? So I'm saving towards an emergency fund. I'm saving towards going on a holiday. It's short term. It's in a savings account, right? And then investing is you invest to earn. And that means it's long term, right? So a lot of people will say to me, hey, Tshepo, you spoke about easy equities. I've put my 200 rand and now it's at 150. It's just been 30 minutes though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's why I say you invest with the intention to earn, which means it is long term. So that's how I understand the difference between the two, right? But I also know that when it comes to saving and investing, there's a lot of misconceptions, right? One of the misconceptions I always hear is people say, but I don't have any money to save. And I'm like, I understand. But then I say, do you have a budget? No. So how do you actually know that you don't have money to save? Because you don't even have a budget, so you don't know what's coming in and going out. But in terms of some of these misconceptions, right? I'm keen to know from Justin and Tinyiko, what are some of the misconceptions you come across when you're talking to people about saving and investing? Tinyiko, we'll start with you.
So I think I'm going to mention what you just talked about as well. Many people have the misconception that for you to start saving and investing, you need to earn a certain amount of money. And I always tell people that that is not the case. When you're saving and investing, you need to start with what you have. I know that it's kind of cliche to say this, but at the end of the day, guys, you can't compare yourself to someone else. If someone else is able to save 5,000 a month, if you can save 200, start there. You know, so it's this thing of feeling that you don't have enough money. I think that's the first one for me.
Yeah, that's the first one for me. All right, cool stuff. And then from you, Justin, I mean, what are some of the misconceptions you hear when it comes to saving and investing?
One would be that investing is a scam. I mean, I see so many people have had bad experiences with investing, and like Forex has such a bad reputation, and people just think they're going to get scammed everywhere they go. And I think education is a big part of how we can fix that. If you just learn about the markets, you use a brokerage that's registered, then you're safe. You're not going to get scammed, you know. So I think education and doing your research will help with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think the one thing that I sometimes struggle with is a lot of people will say to me, I'm struggling to save, I can't save 50 Rand, it doesn't make a difference. And I always say, sometimes you need to focus less on the amount that you're saving and more on the habit of saving, right? Because sometimes we're too fixated, 100 Rand is not enough, I'll start saving when I've got 200. And then when you have 200, you come up with another excuse. But I always say it's more about building the habit before you worry about the amount, right? So there's a saving challenge I was doing with a friend of mine last year, where every Friday we would save 300 Rand, right? So I'd literally take the money and then, transfer it to another account. And after the first month, the one Friday I forgot to do it in the morning, and I just didn't feel okay. I was like, man, something is missing, something is not right. And then I remembered, the 300 Rand, and I then realized that it's more of a habit and less of the amount. We get so fixated because for some reason we think if I can, for some reason we think the more money I have, the more I can save.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the case. So you're like, this 100 Rand is not enough, and then when the 1,000 Rand comes in, it's still not enough and you're still not saving. Is that something that you'd agree with?
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. Because I always tell people that if you can't, let's say now you're earning whatever amount of money you're earning. If you can't save, for example, that 100 Rand from the money you're earning now, trust me, even if you were to get an increase, you would still struggle. It's all about the principle. You know, it doesn't matter how much it is. The small amounts will accumulate over time. It's about getting into the habit, the principle, understanding, being disciplined. You know, so even if you're saving a very small amount of money, you will learn the most important things. Like about money, it's about principle more than anything.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I know there might be some people sitting saying, but guys, it's still the economy. What are we saving? What is being saved here, actually? So I'm keen to know from the audience, how are you guys navigating saving? I mean, is it something that is just not possible, which is a reality for a lot of people? Because some people might say, I have to pay for transport, I have to pay for this, I'm left with 500 Rand, at very least, let me get myself the tank wings that you're talking about to survive. But I mean, in Cyril's economy, is it possible to save? I mean, how are you guys navigating it? And then of course, we'll hear from the panel as well. Anybody happy to share how they're navigating it? Not surviving, struggling? How's it going, brother?
Right, thanks. I have a question actually.
Yes.
I don't have any struggles with saving or investing. I started when I was in varsity, so I built the habit. But you come across a lot of personal finance influencers online, if I may call them that, and they try to make everything a mathematical formula, say maybe, or a ratio, break it down into spend 50%, save 30%, invest 20%. Is that really viable? And yeah, I just want to know, is it the little that you save that matters most, or is there a fixated percentage of your income that you have to invest and save?
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw the question back to you. I mean, most of the time professionals will say save 15%. Are you able to save 15%?
Well, I set mine to my goals.
Okay.
So around what I want to do in the next 5, 10, 15 retirement. So I try to manage that. I save mainly for small to short to medium term goals.
Yeah.
So whether I want to travel or things like that, but I invest for my retirement, my children's future and things like that. So I don't necessarily have a fixated percentage. I do have an amount that, regardless of my finance situation month to month, that I must save. I've built that habit that I need to save that and invest that amount.
Makes sense. I saw there was a hand there.
Going back to what you asked about how we mine is similar to his, I think the mistake that we make is that we always think it's expenses, spending, then saving. But the way we can hack it is that we can do expenses, savings, then we spend. So we decide how much you want to save, you pay all your bills, you pay all your expenses, you save that amount of money, whatever that is left, and then you can start spending.
Yeah, that's a nice way to look at it. Anybody else wanting to share their navigating it?
So with multiple streams of income.
Yes.
So things are like changing, price of so the government will never help. So why not help yourself? Add that business, add that investment. For me and my friends, we like property, so we believe in property. One of those things, property, dividend-paying stocks, small businesses.
Yeah, so just mentioning that the multiple streams of income is one way to hack it. I saw there was one more hand at the back,
So I'll share mine to me.
Yeah.
So I've been using this app called management since about 2016. But mine is so you record every rand that you spend. So if you give a calculator rand, it's 6 rand. When you salary comes in, you say 200 rand salary. Then you break that all your expenses is going to pay for. So I think for me, what was really important at that time was trying to figure out where is my money going first. Then once I established that, I realized, this is how much I'm spending every month. And then from there, I realized, okay, what's the strategy I can actually use that having like a money strategy that lasts me for life. So I can easily operate like 2017, 81, and I can tell you how much I spent because I just exactly. So maybe that is something.
I'm keen to know from our panel, Cyril's economy, times are tough. How are you guys sort of navigating things? Tshepo, you want to take us through how you're navigating it? Speaking to the mic.
Yeah, I think it is a bit tough in these times, and I think it also comes with having to make like certain sacrifices if you want to be putting some money away. So also multiple streams of income also does really help me out a lot. So my current situation, I'm kind of trying to put away as much as possible, and how I'm doing that is, as I said, sacrifices. I'm still living at home, not looking to move out anytime soon, and I think that's a big one. I think people feel a lot of pressure to be like, okay, I'm at this age now, I need to go out there, you know. I feel like if you don't have to spend the money, then don't. Be comfortable with where you are, look at what your goals are, and any way where you can, you know, it sucks having to make certain sacrifices, but just look at the long-term goals and any way where you can make a sacrifice.
It makes sense. How are you navigating this time?
I was actually going to say the same thing. It's really about sacrifice. You know, I feel like I don't even want to lie to anyone. This journey is not easy. It is not easy. Being in a position where you are able to save and invest every month. Whoa. Guys, have you heard the latest Amapiano songs? It's really not easy, but it goes back to just being like putting your goals first and making sure that with everything that you can do, you stick to it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the gentleman over there said, try to pay yourself as early as possible. So that's literally a rule that's been passed down for centuries. It's because it works. So, I mean, when I get my salary or whatever income I get for the month, the first thing I do is I pay myself first. So I'll save. Of course, I'll look at my budget, see how much I can. And 20%, 15%, no, it's not possible. Well, not always possible. Sometimes it is. I mean, this year I started university, first year, and my expenses went through the roof, mostly transport. So I actually haven't been able to save and invest as much as I was last year. I do live at home as well, so I don't have to pay for the roof over my head. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. But yeah, so I think if you just pay yourself first, look at your budget, see what sacrifices you can make. I think everyone can at least invest or save 50 rand. That's where I started, 50 rand a month. And yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But like, this is South Africa. I think we do have to be aware that if you are able to invest and save every month, then you're in a privileged position. Not everyone is able to do that. Like, some people earn very little, some people don't even have jobs. A lot of people actually in this country. And if they have to provide for their family, pay rent, and then at the end of that they might not have anything, so they can't save or invest. So if you can, you're very privileged. And I know that I'm privileged. Food is provided for me. I have a house and a bed to sleep on every night. So I'm very lucky to be able to invest every month. Well, I try to. Sometimes I can't, but I make sure that every month I try my best, even if it's 50 rand. It's all about the habits, like you were saying. So yeah, that's how I'm navigating it. Just the small amounts build up over time.
And I appreciate you saying that sometimes I can't. Sometimes whatever, life happens, right? And it actually brings me on to the next point. Is it possible, right, to save, invest, do all these things to build your finances and still live life? Because adulting is super, super difficult. I'm finding it hard to do the right thing, to save, to invest, and I've still got responsibilities. I'm struggling with that balance. I sometimes feel like it's not possible. Like, you save and invest, but you're struggling. You know what I mean? Or you either have a really great time and party and live in the moment, and then try and survive the rest of the month. It's one of the things that I struggle with, whether there's the ability to find the right balance. Because we've got to be real. So for me, 15% a month, it's not real. It's not real. But where do you find the balance? Because sometimes people will say, saving feels like you're punishing yourself. It can be really hard. So now I'm keen to take it to the audience first and hear from them. Is it possible to find that right balance? I'm struggling with it, to be quite honest with you. But I'm keen to know from others.
So what is, on Capitec there's a thing called Live Better Savings. So every time you spend money, it rounds up to like the nearest 10 or 5 rand or 2 rand, and then it goes into a separate savings account. So what I've noticed is that I'll invest at the start of the month, like whatever I can, and then at the end of the month there'll be some money in the Live Better Savings from whatever I've spent, and then that money can go towards my emergency fund. So that way I'm just saving throughout the month. I don't even really know that I'm saving. So that's a good way that I've been managing to do it.
Like in terms of balancing, we're all young, so like we're not gonna sit at home because we want to save and invest every month. We also want to go out, we want to have fun, So I think that's also important. I mean, last year I was saving and investing everything I got. Like I'm talking 60-70% of what I got. I didn't have university, so I didn't have to make my way there and back every day. But yeah, I learned the hard way. When my friends were going out having a good time, and I had to stay home because I didn't have money for transport or something, So it's important, like we're young, we have to have fun as well. You only live once at the end of the day, so but make sure you get that balance, because I can't stress enough, like you don't want to regret it at the end of the day, like you didn't save enough, you didn't invest enough. So yeah, I think definitely find that balance. It's up to you. Maybe don't overdo it. Don't go out Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks. Just whatever works for you.
How you doing? How you finding that balance?
For me, I remember when I started my journey. So when I started my journey, I was someone who, I honestly didn't have the best relationship with money. I was very impulsive with my spending. I didn't mind lending money from people. I was just living my life, right? And when I made the decision to change, it was so difficult for me. And I remember I was so harsh on myself. No, you need to be straight. You need to save. I remember telling my friends, guys, I'm not going out with you anymore. I used to isolate myself. No more. Once again, I stopped everything that I was doing. And I don't want to lie, I remember those few years were the worst years of my life. I was so miserable. I think at the end of the day, we need to remember that we're young. I don't think it's okay for us to work so hard to just pay bills and be miserable. So I think it's very important for us to find a balance. Find a strategy that's going to work for you. For example, with me, I know I like going out, I like exploring, but I'm aware of the goals that I have. So what I do is that I don't do it as much as I want to, but I make it a priority to still make time for it.
So just try to find that balance.
Try, guys. I know it's so hard here.
So how are you doing it? Are you finding the balance?
Yes, it is a bit difficult at times, but what I've learned is kind of learning what I like to spend my money on. So not just spending money on everything. If there's certain things that I like, then I know like, okay, this is what I'm willing to spend my money on, and this is what I'm not going to do. So I know you see people, especially social media, like, oh, it looks like everyone's doing everything, so I can do everything. But I think learning what's important to you. So if you want to travel, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do with my money. I'm not going to be buying maybe the expensive sneakers. I'm not going to be, buying all these other things. This is what my goal is. But I think it's really important to have that thing that you like, you're going to put your money towards. And yeah, it just helps with, the balance. It's really important.
Yeah, it's such a difficult.
Get to that point. I think sometimes we always moving to the next goal, and then you'll never get there. So I think the gentleman at the back mentioned when you reach the certain point you're aiming towards now, take some time to realize where you are and celebrate that, and then move on to the next phase.
You're already shaking your head, Tinyiko. You're already like, struggle.
No,
When does the struggle end?
That's the thing. No, I agree with the lady who stated that it ends when you at least know your why. Yeah, at least. But then I'm thinking about what the gentleman said at the back, and I feel like it's not. I feel like I started off by saying my relationship with money is healthy, but I'm starting to question that now. Because I think I have a problem, right?
What's the
so
problem?
my biggest problem is that I'll start a project, right? And then I'll work on it. And then I'll tell myself, when I'm done with this, I'm gonna celebrate. I complete the project, it's successful, jump to the next thing. Yeah, I never get time to actually reward myself. So I'm definitely gonna take what he said to consideration. But I think I have an understanding of where this comes from. So I'm someone who literally I did not have this knowledge, and I had to teach myself. So the moment I feel like I'm having too much fun, I feel like I'm going back to the old groove.
I hear you.
And then it's a struggle, So I think it goes back to maybe the psychology of money.
Yeah.
And I need to make a plan.
And we'll talk about the psychology of money as well. And you, brother?
Okay, so I think it really starts with like what your objective is. I mean, I've sat with a financial planner before, and trust me when I say they have questionnaires, like I'm talking questionnaires, pages of questions they ask you, so you can identify what your objective is. So it's not easy, and I'm just gonna again, I'm 20 years old, so I'm not an expert, but once you have your objective, let's say it's like retirement, for example, ultimate objective I'm talking about now. I think once you reach that, so now you have your objective, you know when you're gonna be. So I'm 20, I'm gonna retire, let's say 65, that's 45 years. My math is right. So yeah, that tells me how much risk I can take, how much I can save and invest every month, what required growth I need. So I think the struggle ends once you reach that objective, and I think it's worth putting in the struggle to get there. Nothing in life comes easy. So
I think it's difficult to say. It is such a good question. When does the struggle end? But I think once you have a system and you have those habits in place, and every month it's not a problem for you anymore. If your salary increases, and then at the same time that means your saving has to increase and your investing has to increase, and then it gets to a stage where these habits are so ingrained in you that you're not even struggling that much anymore, because your expenses haven't gone up, but your saving has gone up, and it gets a little bit more comfortable, I want to say. I feel like that's when maybe the struggle will end, but it's probably not.
I love that. Explain what a money personality is. So my dad grew up in a town called Beresford. It's a mining town, there's a lot of platinum, and my dad grew up in a very difficult position. One in which he had to walk to school barefoot. They didn't always have money for food and for all the luxuries and so forth. And I remember my dad telling me a story about Christmas time, right? And he said to me, they'd go to town and they'd see kids wearing new Christmas clothes, and everybody would be happy and be joyous. But at home it wasn't happy or joyous because there was no money. So it's Christmas time and we're seeing physically what it looks like, but we're not experiencing it in the house. Fast forward to now, And my dad has a very interesting money personality, right? One, my dad can be very stingy with money. Like randomly stingy. I'm like, you have money, what's wrong with you? But then I realized, because of the way my dad grew up, sometimes he fears losing his money, right? And it might even be just like $200 and be like, no, right? But then on the other side, my dad loves clothes. Like guys, like last cent clothes. He's always looking good. But when you look at his background, Christmas time and clothes symbolize wealth and happiness. So our experiences, our upbringing, our friends, our family, they all impact our money personality. And our money personality is how we feel about money, how we treat money, how we respect money or disrespect money, right? So that's your money personality. I'm keen to know from you guys, what is your money personality and what has influenced it? Because even when it comes to saving and investing, a person that's got a really bad money personality won't even prioritize it. They won't even think about it. And it's understandable, because you look at somebody's background. They say, I grew up in a family where I've had nothing. I'm not going to save anything. I'm going to eat everything now. And you get it, right? But if you don't identify that within your money personality, then you're never moving forward. You're staying in the exact same place, right? So we'll start at the end. How would you describe your money personality and what has actually influenced it?
I don't know if like it is actually one of the 5 money personalities. I don't know what they are, but I'd say that I invest and I save as much as I can. So that's quite good, I guess. But I think it's the way that I grew up that has influenced it a lot. Like, so my brother and I, we had to move out when we were just 18. Because there was like never any food at home, we just couldn't afford it anymore. But luckily we have very close friends that they said that, you know, they'll take us in. And like I didn't want to struggle like that forever, and I wanted to look after my mom one day, you know. So like for me, whenever I get money, I try my best to save or invest like at least a percentage of it. So for me, I'm very like, I don't know how to describe it, but whenever I get money, I must save or invest. Like it's a big thing for me.
And is it the same thing for you as well? I mean, you guys grew up in the same home. Are you experiencing the same thing?
Along the same lines, yeah. I mean, I would say I'm the dreamer. You know, I have my goals. I have my vision, like what I want to achieve. One of them, of course, is to make sure that my mom doesn't have to, you know, worry about money anymore. You know, I won't stop until I get. I guess you could say that's my why as well. So I'd say also a bit stingy. Like, I haven't gone clothes shopping in like 2-3 years. I wear second-hand clothes. That's what I do. So you know, like I don't spend money on things like clothes or coffee. You know, when I spend money, it's either on fast food, because everyone loves fast food, or I'm saving, investing, and it's transport. So yeah.
Tinyiko, your money personality, what has influenced it?
I think the fact that I've had a bad relationship with money before, right? I feel like that has influenced me a lot, because right now I feel like when I get money, I should save it. You know, I can't lose it. I don't want to go back to being like the old version of me. I think that's really what pushes me at the moment. So I think more than anything, I can say that I am too much of a saver. And what I don't like about this is because I don't like risking as well. So it's not a good thing. You know, so I'm really trying to get to a point where, at least as much as I'm a saver, I can also be an investor. You know, because it's all about balance.
So on your side, I mean, how would you describe your money personality, and what do you think has influenced it?
Yeah, I think I'm a saver. I always try to save money wherever I can. I think that comes from growing up and some of the struggles I had growing up. So, you know, every time I get money, I'm like, okay, I don't want to go back to that situation, and I'm trying to move forward. So that's why I'm always just, you know, trying to save as much as I can.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same as you guys. So I come from a household where my parents divorced, and so I lived with my mom. And so growing up, I always felt like I needed to protect my mom and be with her all the time. So every time I have money, I want to provide for the people around me. But sometimes it's to my own detriment, because I don't do enough for myself. So it's really interesting that our backgrounds, our households, the things we go through, they all impact the way that we handle money. Even the reason to save or to invest is impacted by those things, right? But the really important thing that I want everybody to get is that saving and investing has to be a priority. It doesn't matter if it's 10 rand, if it's 5 rand, if it's 20 rand, it has to be a priority in terms of the answer.
For what worked for me is honestly just starting. I think I was completely clueless when I got started, and I have learned so much ever since starting my journey. I'm still learning even today. So I think just making that first step really helped me to actually start now asking those questions like, okay, why am I doing this? How do I do this the right way? And figuring it out as I do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I think a lot of my answers is basically what Tinyiko said. I think you really need to know who you are and what you want. And is that reflected in the way that you're handling your money? If you really say, I want to start a business or I want to have all these shares and assets, you can't do it if you're not handling your money right. So who are you? What do you want? And is that reflected in the way that you're saving and investing? The next thing, and it's going to be super boring, is you have to budget.
Yeah,
I know everybody's going to be like, oh, budget is giving me a sore stomach. You have to budget. And the reason I always say this is, I think people don't want to budget because a budget is almost like your ex. It's a reminder of all your bad decisions. Because if you sit there, you say, I've spent this on this and this, oh my God, I was wasting money. But you need to be able to see that so you get a real picture of how much is coming in and how much is going out. And where do I find that balance, right? And then it's all the other things that you guys have mentioned. Then you start thinking about what's my why? How do I put all these things in place? So for me, that's how it's always seen it. It's who you are, what do you want to achieve, and is that reflected in the way you handle money? And then it's the boring stuff. A budget is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Following it, creating it. But if I know what it is that I want to achieve, then I know that I have to do it. You know what I mean?
And they give you like videos and then they give you like little quizzes afterwards. It's just all the investing basics. So I really like that. Then also I like reading books. I really enjoyed Global Investing Made Easy by Warren Ingram. And then for like doing my research, if I'm researching a company, then it takes forever to research a company, an individual one. So then you got to look at the annual reports, see what the business does, financial statements, a lot of that. And then for ETFs, I love ETFs. They're much easier to research than a business. So I just go on their fact sheets. I use easy ETFs to compare like the different ETFs to each other. Yeah, so those are the ones that I use.
I can name so many. For like, when I first started, I didn't understand what PE ratio was, EPS, all of that, those financial metrics. One website that helped me a lot was Investopedia. Very straightforward, very simple. You just got to be careful because, it's US and they have different accounting techniques. But yeah, that books, my brother said a very good one. But I also want to touch on something. So with investing, it's very much financial, it's in the topic of finance, but at the end of the day, it is the study of business. So actually, business books have helped me the most when it comes to learning more about different businesses, how to research them, and stuff like that. MoneyWeb, they were here today as well. They have great tools there. You can compare, check what the insiders are buying and selling.
I also use the same resources. So I use Investopedia because it simplifies everything. So that's where I get most of the information that I need when it comes to finances. Another thing that I really like is reading books from people who, people that I can relate to. So I've read books by Makolo Maku, Nicolette Mashile, Busi Silesho. So I've learned a lot from people who have actually gone through these experiences. And I think that's where I learned the most.
I think they pretty much mentioned most of the things, but I also really enjoy reading books and also listening to podcasts. One that I really enjoy is the Honest Money podcast. So I think just kind of trying my best to stay up to date. Also sign up to newsletters so that the information comes to me, just pops into my emails.
Yeah, so a lot of different types of resources and tools and so forth. So it's now over to you guys.